attention, please. All humanities students taking robotics, please consider the irony of your choices. That is all.
The can of mixed nuts, help yourselves.
Oh, okay.
It's symbolic of who we teach to. Man, it's a nutty job.
And then we get nuttier.
She's got that swing.
Hello, and welcome to The Art of Teaching. I'm your host, Pete Anderson, and this is the podcast in which I speak with educators about the qualities that make for good teaching.
Makes no difference if sweet or hot. Just give that rhythm everything.
Today's episode is a continuation of my conversation with 16-year veteran English teacher, Jonathan Tolbert. And by the way, we're back.
All
with
right.
Jonathan Tolbert. Hey, I gotta say this. Since I met you, and when I met you, it was around all of those well-read dudes, right? Like, and I think Towsley only called you by your last name.
Yes.
And that made it weird for me because that's all I ever heard. And I don't know, does Van Valkenburg only call you by?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was always on the fence about, do I call you Tolbert? Do I call you Jonathan? Because not everybody says Tolbert.
No.
And I can't think of any other person in my world that goes by their last name. So can you think of other people that are called by their last name?
I think the ones you're mentioning, like I've never called Van Valkenburg by Skylar or
Really?
Towsley by Tim. Not one time that I can remember.
Oh,
but
well, that's interesting.
But I'd also say, I never have called Jill Vic. I just call. She's Jill.
Right.
Panley, I go by last name. Part of that I think is a little bit of a team mentality, right?
Huh.
I think within the department, I kind of think about it that way.
Oh.
But it has nothing to do with, like, for me personally, intellectual, because I, like, going on record right here, favorite person, one of my favorite, we'll go top 5, top 3, maybe top 2, favorite people I've ever taught with would be Lane Knuckles.
Interesting.
Yeah. And she's one of the most intelligent, one of the best teachers I've ever seen. She was always Lane. I never called her Knuckles. So it's
Right.
like, immediately when I say it's not really this because I can think of an exception, multiple exceptions.
There's no formula to this, is
Yeah.
there? It's just the individual basis.
Yeah.
Except I like that idea of that team vibe of
Right.
that's why your last name. Because I've been saying Jonathan the whole time, and it never felt right.
Well, and it's weird, right? Because when we're talking about names, like all through growing up, it was Jonathan.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way, it switched to John. And now Lindsay Panley is one of the few people in the building that will call me Jonathan.
I've heard her say that.
There's
yeah.
a couple people who call me John. I've never been a Johnny. There's been times I'm like, that'd be kind of cool, but it's not the 50s. But yeah, it is an interesting thinking about who we call by their last names. I'm used to it because sports were always my thing growing up, and you always go by your last name in sports.
Really?
Yeah.
On the swim team, that didn't happen.
Oh, really?
We didn't have jerseys, so
Yeah.
it couldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So maybe it's a
Yeah,
jersey thing.
football, football. I think that football's the big one, And I think my mentality, because I kind of go through life in a crash, bang, boom kind of way,
Right.
it lends itself more to like a Tolbert, which is a little bit like her sounding, than like Jonathan. Jonathan's a little too elegant for the way that I approach life.
All right. Well, I'm tired of Jonathan. I'm going back to Tolbert.
I'm absolutely fine with that.
Okay, thank God.
Feels natural.
Because it wasn't feeling right over here. Welcome back. We're here with Jonathan Tolbert. And the topic of content, but before I do that, and we did some fabulous name that book and beer tasting. So I'm curious because given the situation in education, and a whole bunch of people have left us, and some are just left us, actually. This year just started. And I'm out the door soon, but that's for other reasons. I'm curious, Tolbert, how fast are you out the door if offered a brewery management position with benefits?
Ooh. I have been offered a brewery management position with benefits, and I turned it down.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, the short answer would be payment.
Okay,
yeah,
wasn't
the
the same
salary.
money.
The salary wasn't even close.
All right, Dan.
But you know what?
get it.
I at this point, this year, at this stage in my career, I still enjoy teaching tremendously. Even when I think about other things I could do, I don't know what other job I could have where I'm discussing things that I'm interested in, that I love, where my day goes by quickly, and it doesn't happen as much as I would like, but it happens enough that I'm still learning. And when I say learning, I'm learning from the kids. That's when the minute I stop learning from the students I'm interacting with, like I want no part of it anymore. Like that's what feeds my soul. And I think you and I have talked about that before, about whether or not teaching is a selfish job. And I come down on 100%.
110, but that's not good math. Yeah, I'm completely on the. It's about me,
And it's
and
not
it keeps me moving, growing.
Yeah, it's not always an academic learning. I had a conversation with a student I've known now for 4 years today, and it was something in my personal life that I didn't elaborate on, but it was a safe space where she and I could kind of kick around an idea. And I was like, look, what I'm going to say is ignorant, right? And I need you to kind of help me work through this. If you feel like this is a safe space to talk about it. Student was like, absolutely. So we kind of kicked around an idea, and I walked away having learned something that I'm not sure I have other spaces where I can do that. And I think like fundamentally, education needs to be a space where we can talk about those challenging things, whatever it is, right? Because that's what learning is. It's like coming across challenges and sometimes not succeeding, but
And it's definitely about growth.
Yeah.
If you're not growing, how can you be learning?
Right.
So there's no growth. There's no learning, which is why all this crap that I teach, nobody's growing.
Yeah.
All right, maybe in some weird small way. Okay. So if the money was equal, would you have taken it?
Still no.
Oh. So we have an educator in front of us.
I think so. I mean, at least I try to be.
That's a weird thing to say. I'm going to take that back. That really wasn't fair.
Well,
because some people need money for other reasons. And all right, we're all different. But wow.
Yeah,
I salute.
Yeah, I've been in the service industry since I was 13 years old in some capacity or another. And it is a soul-sucking profession. And maybe not a profession. Maybe profession, I don't know. But
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got it. They actually have more in common than one would think between teaching and like standing in front of people slinging beers or serving. And if honestly, if you can work in the service industry, it really lends itself well to the skills that you need when you're in the classroom.
Whew. Man, I'm making a prediction. I'm going to call it. I'm not going to say you're going another 14 years because that's a hard prediction to make. You're going another 5.
I certainly won't go admin. That is a no never.
Don't do it, man.
They have got job safety. I'm not coming for that job.
We got 5 years stuck on mine. 5 years, what a surprise. We got 5 years, my brain hurts a lot. 5 years, that's all we got. We got 5.
Going back to content, and you said, all right, it's not about checklist of books you have to read, yet there are some that you maybe prefer that, well, I wish we all read the Odyssey so we can move on. And that's cool. But when you think about students and their high school sort of career of, all right, they read stuff, we hope. What about that experience in high school would you want them to remember, let's say, post-college or 5 years after the fact? What do they take away?
My hope, I don't know if this occurs, but my hope is that something they read in my class helps them to better understand themselves better. The idea that art, when it is functional and when it is at its truest, creates that bond, that interaction across space and time, where my go-to's, Hamlet, it's an easy one. That to be or not to be soliloquy, no, not all of us have been in that situation that Hamlet is exactly at that moment, but we've all been in a situation where we're trying to choose, do I do A or do I do B? And if I choose A, what's my motivation in choosing A and what's my motivation in choosing B? And I think we've all been in that moment because the ultimate arrives at, we don't like when the outcome isn't identified or predictable. We often act out of fear. And I think that when you can read a piece of literature, listen to a piece of music, see a work of art, or watch a movie that helps you understand yourself better, there's no other better definition of magic in the world to me. Like that's a connection that is between two people who have never even said hello to one another. And if a student tells me that, and it's happened a couple times, that's a win, and I'll take that. Feeds myself for a while.
Whew, that's nice, man. How to get a kid to connect with that you need a variety. Because if they only read what they like, that's probably not going to happen, right?
Right, yeah.
Ooh. Do you think that won't happen if you only read? That's may never, like never, but probably not until they get something a little edgier.
I think it's comfort zones, right?
Yeah.
I think when we go through, when we're growing and we're learning, it comes from unexpected places. When we think something, and even outside the world of education, you don't really know until you've been challenged fundamentally at the core of something you believe,
right?
And you find that it's not quite the way you thought it was. Yeah. I think literature is a vehicle to do that, but you can't be reading something that you know and that you like to get there often.
Yeah. Probably the exact opposite of that is a dog's squeaky toy. Dogs playing.
I think there's some pure unadulterated like joy in like just a squeaky toy.
Can you think of something you've read that's done that to you?
Yes. So I think the first time it occurred was when I was in high school, and my teacher leaned down to me. It's why As I Lay Dying is my favorite book. My teacher leaned down, and she was a good teacher because she knew I was a little bit obstinate, and said, "You might not want to try this one, Tolbert. It's really hard." And I was like, "Oh, like, challenge accepted." And that's one of the 2 or 3 books I read in high school. And I remember the part in As I Lay Dying where you have this family that's dysfunctional, and they don't even like one another, but they're doing the best they can. And there's something humbling about that, and there's something just very human about that. Like, judge them up and down, but they're doing the best they can. And I remember thinking about how that applies to everybody, right? You know, privileged or unprivileged. These are poor. This is a poor white family in the Deep South, and they have a lot of things going against it, but you're doing the best you can. And I'd say similarly, same sort of idea in Grapes of Wrath did that as well. It's a matter of like, just go out and try to be a good person. And if you can't count on the person next to you, Tom Joad went to jail, but like, he's a good person and he's just trying to do right by his fellow human being. I remember both of those kind of hitting me right there. Like, that's what I need to try to do in my life with regularity.
Wow. Man, I want to reread that now. You inspired me. But your teacher said you probably shouldn't read this.
Yeah.
It's too much for you.
Yeah,
Like that?
yeah.
Can you imagine saying that to another kid? Because I'm imagining, okay, 32 students, we're all reading this one. Oh, Jonathan, maybe you shouldn't. It's too much for you.
But I think
wow.
When I think about teaching, it's a lot like coaching, right? You got to know what you got to know how to.
Oh, it was a genius move, right?
Yeah. Oh, it was spectacular. Like, got me to read a book that I otherwise would not have.
And that was you. You look back now and know that's what the teacher did. Yeah. That's why that teacher did.
Yeah, she read me, and I
Whoa! Wow!
And I think I was reflecting on this the other day. I think that coaching, teaching piece, I was thinking about what if we looked at our class like a team,
Yeah.
We think about individuals all the time, right? But when you're sports like soccer, you got to think about like who's going to make a good striker, who's going to make a center mid, and there's different skills and different sorts of personalities that make that. We don't think about a class being that way. So thinking about in terms of like what's our class goal by the end of the year? How do I utilize the strengths and weaknesses of my students to help all of us get to this point by the end, rather than just thinking about how do I get that kid to pass a test? I'm not there yet.
Right.
But I think it's those sorts of things. Like,
Oh man, way to go! I'm not there yet.
yeah.
Damn. Okay, I'm changing my prediction to you're going to make it 8 more years. That was nicely said.
Saying I'm all grown up, I've come a long way, but I'm not there yet. I've come a long way, but I'm not there yet. Oh, where did the summer go? I was just hitting.
If no one's buying, why keep selling? You were really down last year.
Yeah.
We all were. But you were like pretty low. I didn't
Yeah.
think you were coming back, man. I thought, I'm sorry. I wrote you off. I undersold you. Because, it's like we're teaching to a wall. It seems absolutely pointless, right?
Yeah.
So if no one feels like no one is buying, why keep selling? And then it makes you think like, what's the whole objective of what are we doing here? Why is this class even mandatory? It makes you step back and go, what is the point and what's the big picture? Right?
Right.
So what is if you were to say the big picture of why kids have to take English 9, English 10, English whatever, what's that big, how do you sell it to a parent? You should take this class because. Is there like a broader scope? And maybe you've already answered that, I think.
Well, so the easy, direct answer is, I say this, like, sorry to all other contents, but I suggest to my students and parents that English is the most important class the students are going to take, because you have to be able to communicate, you have to be able to discuss, and you have to be able to listen. And when we're thinking about what English entails, we're thinking about reading, writing, thinking, and speaking. If you can't do those things, how are you going to learn or develop in any other content? And that's kind of the easy way that I get to it. And I think what you were saying earlier about, like, I've probably already answered it, is I also tell them, like, I'm going to show you how to kind of find answers to any problem you're ever going to have, because somebody has already written about what you're experiencing. You just need to go and find it. And like, not everything I'm going to have you read or write about is going to be one of those things. But if one is, then I've given you a therapy. I've given you a playbook. So it depends on how heady you want to get when I talk to. But
Do you? I'm just being hopeful that if I ask that same question, I got the exact same answer in some slightly different version to any other content teacher, like science. What's the big picture? And I really hope they would answer, what's the most important class in the whole thing, right?
Hope so.
And here's why. Gosh, if you can't say that, you got to wonder why you're in the classroom.
I think that's
because
why
I could tell you the same thing in math.
I think that's why I think that's why many people are kind of rethinking and challenging it, because that's not what we're hearing from the decision makers, right? It's become a different conversation about what it is we're supposed to be or should be providing. But education as we know it is caught between two worlds: how we've always done it and how we should do it now, without a real plan of, like, how do you retrain someone like me that's been doing this for 16 years, that my job, what I'm doing each day, is a different job.
The James Lipton Proust questionnaire. Let's see what you got.
So ready for it.
You ready?
Yep.
Oh, wait. Did you already prepare answers?
No.
Because that's not fair.
I've watched an Inside the Actors studio or two, but no, I've gotten, no.
Pretty good show.
Yeah.
All right. Tolbert, what's your favorite educational jargon type word?
Educational jargon type of word. pedagogy.
Pedagogy, you like that one?
And just like the way it like rolls off the tongue. It's fun to say.
Yes, I do like that. It has a good roll to it. So what's your least favorite educational jargon type word?
Grace.
Oh.
But that's not. I mean, it's not an educational jargon word, but it's one that came into our vernacular, and it drives me insane.
I think a previous guest had the same problem.
or maybe performance task. That's a new one. Performance task, and I think that one overtakes it. Performance task is a new phrase to replace what we already had words for. Like, it's no longer an essay; it's a performance task, or it's no longer a presentation; it's a performance task.
I think performance task could be shortened into a word used by Kurt Vonnegut, a blivet.
Yes.
You know that word?
Yeah.
Yes, go look it up. Okay, what turns you on, educationally speaking?
When something that occurs in my classroom resonates with both my students and me, when I know that like whatever just happened is a connection or an aha moment, and it's why I impress upon my students. I never want you to go to the internet to find an answer because somebody's going to say something I haven't heard before, and I guess that's it right there. That's what gets me off educationally speaking. When someone says something I haven't heard before, as long as they can support it, I don't care if it's wrong. It's just a matter of like, yes, that's your thinking, and that's cool.
Excuse me, so turning you off.
Why do I have an F in your class? Because it's one of two things.
Because you asked that question. That's why you have F in this class.
You're either not here or you're not doing. We can solve both those situations, but right. That's yeah.
What sound or noise do you love during the school day?
Ooh, sound or noise do I love during the school day? Ooh. That means that a student really wants to jump into the conversation, has something that means that like
that noise.
Like that noise.
Yeah.
Sorry, like ooh, and it's like
I thought you got excited.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I
make
that noise
question.
too. It is. It's one when I have students I like to call bouncers,
right.
And like a bouncer when they get really excited, they make the noise ooh, and it's because they have they want to contribute so badly.
You don't hear that enough, right?
Yeah.
But once in a while. All right, so what sound or noise do you hate during the school day?
The sound of a student's music.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. I may even like the song, but if I'm up there talking, I don't want to hear their music.
Yeah, go away. What's your favorite, this is a tough one, what's your favorite curse word that you would use in the classroom? And we can bleep this out here. Nice. You use that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And can I give some context?
Please.
In my classroom, when a student swears, I make them go through the process of rephrasing, revising what they said to choose a better word to replace it, followed by, if you're going to swear in a class, you need to make sure that you only do it once in a while, because then it really has a point. And yeah, so like there's been, I think, one time where I used and I
right.
Yeah, there was a purpose behind it.
Actually, even just getting upset visually and vocally to the kids, you do that every day. It's like, that doesn't mean a thing. But you snap, just like once every 3 months, wow, will they straighten up.
Yep.
I like to say I'm controlling that snap, but I'm really not. I'm really snapping.
Well, I think instead of going like intense, I've learned the lower the volume, talk slower, and that strikes fear. Yeah.
Okay. So what profession, I think we know the answer perhaps, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt other than teaching?
Profession other than my own that I would like to attempt.
Aren't you doing it now? But you said no.
No, I think something last year I told my students that I would like to be a funeral home owner because I read that they make over $100K. So that was my ongoing joke last year.
Wow.
No, I think
I saw 6 feet under.
I don't have the talent for it. I would love to be a professional actor.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm with
I've
you.
done some performance, and that's a high. It's yeah.
Do you think it's because you teach?
I think teaching provides me that same high I get from performance, and I know that no lesson I do, no bit that I do in the classroom is ever going to be repeated. It happens
Right.
that one time, and if I
Right.
try it again, it's going to be different.
This is the sound of my dogs performing, by the way.
They're doing great.
You calm down. They are losing it for me. All right. Hang on one second. Sure. Jake, hang in there. What was I doing? Acting.
Acting. I'm an actor. I was acting.
I remember
God bless John
Harvey
Lovitz.
Stone when he was at the school. I kept trying to get Harvey Stone to, oh man, you should do like a faculty play. Wouldn't it be awesome? Because I just wanted to be on stage.
Yeah.
So badly, and I still do.
Oh, it'd be great.
It could happen.
Like a one act. Yeah.
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 If I had that much energy, there's a book about the death of philosophers. Weird deaths of like philosophers like Pythagoras or something. Like Pythagoras died on the edge of a bean field because he wouldn't cross beans because they had something to do with testicles and he couldn't step on something bizarre. And I said that would be a great one act.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, sorry. What profession would you not like to do?
Substitute bus driver or bus driver, period.
Oh, ooh, yeah. Can you imagine? More power to them. All right. What would you want your students to say about you on retirement day?
running through lots of things. I think on retirement day, I see the world differently because of you.
Tolbert, you got any parting words of advice for other educators out there?
Yeah, I think a couple ones. I think when you choose to be an educator, it's a hard thing to do. At least I found it hard to do. But stick with it until you know you've kind of found your vibe, what works for you, kind of in the classroom, what is authentically you. And sometimes that takes a lot of vulnerability, and that's a hard thing to kind of give up. That like, yes, it's a profession, but you're also, and we're all also human beings. And don't ever forget, it's a job. I think that when I came to the realization that teaching is a job and it is not my life, I became a better teacher. Because then it would allow me to wholly and totally invest myself into the time I'm at school, and when I'm not there, to do things that feed my soul and allow me to be a better teacher. Nice. Which is not something you usually hear. It's it's heart work, not hard work, and it is, but it's still work either way, and it's a matter of like sometimes you gotta step away, and less is more.
Yeah. Nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Jonathan Tolbert, 16-year veteran educator in the world of English.
Don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
You've been listening to The Art of Teaching. I'm Pete Anderson. Thanks for listening, but it's time to move on to your next class.
You're 16. I'm on the downside. slopes.
Are you going to pump the brakes?
No.
No. Floor it.
I might take a different road at some point. It certainly won't be Admin Avenue.
Is your turn signal on already?